Welcome to this lecture series. Today we are going over the standard operating procedure for grant of exemption, which is an important subject under EPFO. In certain cases, establishments may choose to maintain their own Provident Fund trusts. To do so, they must apply for an exemption under Section 17 of the Employees' Provident Funds and Miscellaneous Provisions Act of 1952. Exemptions can be granted in two ways. For the entire establishment, as regulated under Section 17(1) of the Act. For a specific class of employees, as regulated under Section 17(2) of the Act. The enabling provision for this exemption process is outlined in Para 27A of the EPF Scheme, 1952. The process for examining and forwarding exemption proposals begins at the field offices. These offices send their recommendations to the head office of the EPFO, where the proposals are thoroughly reviewed. The head office then seeks recommendations from its committees and the central board before presenting the proposals to the appropriate government for final consideration. This process has been standardized to include clear administrative procedures, outlining required documents, formats, channels, and timelines for different exemption scenarios. Additionally, a mechanism for monitoring and providing feedback has been established to ensure compliance. Now we shall delve into procedure to be followed in case of grant of exemption. The application process for exemption begins with the establishment submitting Form GE1 along with the required documents. Applications must be submitted online, as the physical mode will remain until full system automation. Once received, the regional office, or RO, processes the application as per Form GE1. If there are any pending documents, the establishment will be informed in writing, with a 2-week period provided for rectification and resubmission. If no reply is received within the specified time, the establishment will be treated as non-exempt, and compliance will be required. The Regional Provident Fund Commissioner, or RPFC, will then scrutinize the application and either approve or reject it, forwarding the communication with a draft agenda. Applications must be finalized at the row level and forwarded to the zonal office within 10 weeks of receipt. If the application is found unfit, a rejection notice will be sent to the zonal office. Once the zonal office receives the proposal, they will evaluate its overall soundness and certify the fitness of the proposal. Based on this, they will recommend either granting or rejecting the exemption. The zonal office must transmit the proposal, along with supporting documents, to the exemption division at the head office through e-file, within 15 days of receiving it from the regional office. If necessary, the ACC of the zone can issue a relaxation order under Para 79 of the EPF scheme. The head office then evaluates the proposal and prepares an agenda for consideration by the Exemption Evaluation Committee, EEC. The EEC's opinion is presented to the Central Board of Trustees, CBT, which will provide recommendations. Finally, the proposal is sent to the appropriate government for final approval, with follow-ups to ensure timely finalization. The exemption process follows a structured timeline with clear roles and responsibilities. T0 weeks, the regional office receives the application and conducts basic scrutiny. T0 plus 2 weeks, T1 the regional office communicates any deficiencies to the establishment. T1 plus 2 weeks, T2 if deficiencies remain, a letter is issued to the establishment by the regional office. T2 plus 6 weeks, T3 the regional office forwards the proposal to the zonal office. T3 plus 2 weeks, T4 the zonal office forwards the proposal to the head office. T4 plus 4 weeks, the head office's exemption division sends the proposal, along with the Central Board of Trustees' views, to the appropriate government for finalization. This structured timeline ensures accountability at each step. When applying for an exemption, the following documents are required. 2 copies of the PF Trust Rules, signed by all trustees with their designations clearly indicated. For exemptions made for a specific class of employees, the draft trust rules must clearly define and include the class being considered, as required under Para 27A of the EPF scheme. Certificates of undertaking, in the prescribed formats, must be submitted by both the employer and the trustees, confirming adherence to conditions 22 and 23 of Appendix A to Para 27A of the EPF scheme. A comparative table of benefits under the PF Trust Rules, compared to the EPF scheme, 1952. Details of all departments, branches, and units, including their agreement to participate in the common trust. The full names, designations, and permanent addresses of all trustees must also be provided. The GE1 return form captures key details of the establishment seeking exemption, including the name, PAN, and address of the establishment. Details of branches or departments, including addresses and employment strength. The name, email ID, and mobile number of the employer. The establishment's date of coverage and PF code number. The total number of employees, broken down into two categories. Those with Aadhaar-seeded UAN. Those without Aadhaar-seeded UAN. These details are essential for processing the exemption application. The exemption application also requires detailed information about the Provident Fund Trust, including the name, PAN, and address of the PF Trust. The date of constitution or reconstitution of the Board of Trustees. Whether the trust is a single PF Trust or a common PF Trust, and if common, the names of the participating units. Names, designations, addresses, and contact details of all trustees. The date of execution of the trust deed. Confirmation if the exemption is sought for the entire establishment. A specific class of employees. The date from which the exemption is sought. Whether the trust is recognized under the Income Tax Act, with the last recognition certificate if applicable. These details help evaluate the trust's compliance and structure. There are some more details to be provided, like is the trust recognized under the Income Tax Act? If yes, a copy of the latest recognition should be provided. Rate of contribution. Is the contribution at the statutory rate? Or is it at a rate higher than the statutory rate? Contributions and charges paid. Contributions and inspection or administrative charges should be noted for A. The Employees' Provident Fund, EPF, Scheme, 1952. B. The Employees' Pension Scheme, EPS, 1995. C. The Employees' Deposit-Linked Insurance, EDLI, Scheme, 1976. Rate of interest. Indicate the rate of interest declared from the date the exemption was applied for. Financial statements. Indicate the last financial year for which annual statements of accounts were issued to the members. Confirm whether the company has reported a loss for 3 consecutive financial years or experienced erosion in its capital base. Transfer of contributions. Confirm if contributions have been transferred to the Board of Trustees since the intended date of the grant of exemption. Consent of employees. Confirm whether the majority of employees have consented to the exemption. Audited balance sheet. Confirm if the audited balance sheet of the establishment and the trust, since the intended date of the grant of exemption, is enclosed. In addition to the main documents, the following enclosures are required for the exemption application. A certificate of undertaking. A comparative chart of benefits between the PF Trust Rules and the EPF scheme. Consent from the majority of employees. A checklist of documents to ensure all necessary materials are submitted. These enclosures help to ensure transparency and completeness in the application process. A chart which outlines a comparison between the benefits provided under the Act or scheme and those provided as per the rules of the trust. Key areas of comparison include: definition of employee. How employees are defined under the Act versus the Trust's rules. Mode of selection of trustees. Trustees can be elected, nominated, or selected. The Trust may conduct this process online or offline. Rate of contribution. The rate at which contributions are made under the Act or scheme compared to the Trust's rules. Rate of interest declared. The rate of interest declared on contributions under the Act versus the Trust. Withdrawals and advances. Comparison of withdrawal and advance provisions. Issuance of annual account slips. Whether annual account slips are issued within 6 months after the end of the financial year. Claim settlement time. Whether claims are settled within 20 days, as specified in paragraph 72(7) of the scheme. Services to members. A. Availability of an electronic passbook with download facility. B. Computerized account balance viewing facility. Grievance handling mechanism. How grievances are managed under the Act versus the Trust. A checklist to apply for the grant of exemption. The following documents must be submitted along with the application. Application. A formal application addressed to the appropriate government. Trust rules. 2 copies of the trust rules, signed by all the trustees, including their names and designations. Trustee details. Names, designations, and addresses of all the trustees. Employee consent. Consent from the majority of the employees. Original trust deed. The original trust deed and any modifications, if applicable. Undertaking. An undertaking to abide by conditions number 22 and 23. Audited balance sheets of the establishment. Audited balance sheets of the establishment for the 3 years prior to the proposed date of exemption and up to the date of application. Audited balance sheets of the trust. Audited balance sheets of the trust from the proposed date of exemption. Comparative chart of benefits. A comparative chart of benefits provided by the Trust versus the Employees' Provident Fund, EPF Scheme, 1952. Submissions by RPFC in GE to return. For the GE to return, the Regional Provident Fund Commissioner, RPFC, must make the following submissions. Basic profile of the establishment. A detailed profile of the establishment applying for exemption. Summary of scrutiny. A summary of the scrutiny conducted by the RPFC on the establishment's application. 16 points checklist. A comprehensive 16 points checklist, duly signed and verified by the RPFC, ensuring all requirements are met. Comparison of benefits. A comparison of benefits under the trust rules, signed and verified by the RPFC. Certificate regarding investment pattern. A certificate confirming the investment pattern of the trust. Draft agenda for Exempted Establishment Committee. A draft agenda for the Exempted Establishment Committee to review and discuss the application. Finally, a basic profile of the establishment to be furnished by RPFC. Thank you for listening. For more such videos, please access our remaining programs.